Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Kennebunkport Select Board. Today is January 22nd, 2026. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Would you please join me, rise if you can, for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. Welcome to this meeting of the Kennebunkport Select Board. Today is January 22nd, 2026. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Would you please join me, rise if you can, for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. This meeting of the Thank you. The next order on our agenda is the approval of the January 8th, 2026 Select Board minutes. I have a first and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? So moved. Next is our public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the Select Board with any issue that is not on the 2026 Select Board minutes. Anyone here? Have a first and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? So moved. Next on to number 5. This is an opportunity for anyone. This is going to be a brief public hearing. I hope it's brief. For a new liquor license. This is for the Sea Biscuits Hotel Group, which are the folks that have taken over what was the old Stripers. This is an opportunity for this is going to be a brief public hearing. Form is in front of us for a new liquor license. Is recommending this is for the Sea Biscuits Hotel Group approval of the license that have taken over. What was the old we will now open the public hearing. Are there any comments from the floor? Form is in front of us. Hearing none, and staff is recommending this is for the Sea Biscuits Hotel Group. Along, we will close the public meeting. And now I would ask, entertain a motion. We will now open the public hearing. Are there any comments from the floor? Form is in front of us. Hearing none. I have a first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? And now I would ask to entertain a motion.
You're welcome to come up and say a few words about what you want to do and if you want.
Form is in front of us.
Or you don't have.
Hearing none. I have a first and second. Any further discussion?
Come,
Hearing none. All in favor?
just tell us your name and
Thank you.
where you live.
My name is Mary Puglisi. I'm the Director of Operations with the Seabiscuit Hotel Group. And this is for the Tin Bar. It's a small
Any further discussion?
little bar that is going to be located
Just tell us your name.
at 127 Ocean. My name is Mary Puglisi. I'm the Director of Operations. Something and more amenities when they're staying.
And this bar then is for the 25 guests, and it's only the guests of the hotel. It's not open to the general public.
No, we're targeting just our guests.
That's important. And we might amend the motion just to add that piece, or at least to have acknowledged it here. That is the intent. And this bar then is for the 25 guests, and it's only the guests of the hotel. It's not open to the general. We had two agenda items that have been removed this evening due to illness. We will not be discussing the audit presentation from RKO. And associated with that would have been the annual transfer of the Capital Reserve Fund, and we again will postpone that until we can have the audit presentation. So number 8 on the agenda is to consider the wastewater bill change to align for the fiscal year as opposed to its current state. And Eric will walk us through once again the circle charts.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, this is to get us aligned with the current fiscal cycle that the town is on, that the wastewater department never really got to that point. And Peter's been doing the research on the numbers, so I'm going to actually let him present tonight.
Should I introduce myself again? Good evening, Peter Conroy, Operations Manager, Wastewater. As Eric said, we've come before you a couple times with this. We're just kind of, dotting some I's and crossing some T's with some information that was requested last time we were here. Next slide. So it's a little confusing. We looked at a few iterations of this, but this was what was settled upon as we kind of came here. This is what was originally set up when the town was, before the town went to fiscal billing. So the calendar was January to January, and the bills were sent out in the 5th month of the cycle, which would be May, which is when the bills are still currently sent out. Next slide. So now, due to the fiscal year up, back one, there you go. The bills are actually sent out because we're July to July and the bill comes out in May. The bills are sent out in the 11th month of the cycle, which means that we are waiting until the 11th month to receive the funds that we use to, support the wastewater infrastructure and people. Next slide. So this is what we were proposing. It's what we talked about before. Fiscal year would still be July to July. We're breaking it into 2 parts, so the first half of the bill would be due in November, and the second half of the bill would be due in May. Do we have any questions on that piece of it? Perfect. Last time we were here, we kind of, threw some numbers out, but we didn't have anything concrete at the time. Here I am back with the concrete numbers. So this is the anticipated cost for the fiscal year changeover. As you see, the 2025 bill, excuse me, is $708.74. That's 1 unit. That covers 88% of our town. So between 1 and 2 units, we're covering 95% of our town. That's what you're going to see. So if we did a 1 payment increase, it would be about $350, $354.37. That was one option that was brought forward. You can see that we have 1 unit, 2 units, 5 units, and then we have 1 customer. We're not allowed to name names legally, but we have 1 customer that pays 131 units. So we just wanted to show the 2 extremes of what we're going to see. So the one payment plan is the second line there across. About 95% of the people are going to be paying between $350 and $700 additional dollars in that cycle, even though it covers the next fiscal year. It will seem like in that calendar year you are paying an additional fee. The second option that we brought up was kind of taking this and turning it into payments over 5 years. You see what's there. So essentially wastewater would take a loan to be paid back and rolled into smaller payments over the 5 years. That would be a difference of about 5 payments, 1 each year, of about $71 or $142. Again, that covers 95% of the people we're talking about here. Any questions on this one? Ooh, I would.
Pete, just define the unit for us again.
A unit is what you pay, so 1
No, but-
unit is one dwelling.
One house.
Yeah, correct.
But in a commercial setting,
There's more ADUs, there's a lot of stuff there. So like in a commercial setting, a restaurant's based on seats, and we've kind of gone over that. Seats,
But
you
a
know,
household is
1
not
unit.
based on bathrooms or anything, it's just
No, 1 unit, correct.
And if there's an ADU on site.
Correct, that's an additional
Then
unit,
that's 2 units if there's an ADU.
correct.
Okay.
And then I'd just like to touch on, at the bottom there, I kind of skipped over that, is these costs are separate of any annual rate changes that we see. So these payments will be, they will be made regardless of what the rate is going forward.
So, thank you. I think that's pretty clear.
is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we're asking ourselves if we're ready to make a decision on this to help move forward and get some assurance to how we're going to be doing the billing. The choices are to pay 1/5 each year, basically borrowing it from ourselves and just losing the interest on that money would be basically about it. Or bite the bullet and get it all done in a single year. Thoughts?
I think the numbers that you put together are very helpful, Pete, because last time we were just, we couldn't make the measurements so for me, from my perspective, it's a significant amount.
Yeah.
For a household to swallow in a year, so this clearly for me says that we should borrow from ourselves and go to the farm.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
I would rather just get it over with in 1 year so that we don't have this, but I'm not, I can go with how the board wants to go. I mean, I do realize for the largest customer that that is a huge increase
That is
in 1
huge.
year.
And the 1 unit is a 1 unit, so it's not based on property value or anything like
No.
that. It's strictly 1 unit. And I think that's where I'm sort of falling is for percent of population, $350 is a lot for a year.
Yeah, there's a solid 6%, you know, again, you take the 1 and 2 units together, it's 94, so 6% of the folks are gonna pay
An
above
extra
that
700,
708, so that's a big chunk. But Joe, how you feel?
I think the 5-year thing is the more equitable way to go, although I do like just ripping the bandage off. But I don't, not if it's gonna, not if I'm ripping the bandage off of somebody else, so.
Yeah. I mean, I was for rip the bandage off.
Could someone prepay if they wanted to?
Oh, God,
Or is that getting too
no. I
complicated?
think, no.
No, all right, okay, that's fine.
That's the accounting, I mean, why, right? I mean, am I wrong on that? Maybe they could, we couldn't.
People can always prepay. We accept
Okay, we
prepayment.
prepay, okay,
I was gonna say, I'd take the money,
okay.
never turn the money down.
If they don't mind getting a bill and just say nothing they already paid, because I don't know if we're gonna change the billing system to reflect that, so, all right. Good, so I'll entertain,
Okay.
let's
So I'll
get
make
this
a
over with, yep.
motion to amend our wastewater billing cycle to the calendar year of July through July, with the payments being spread over the 5 years.
Second.
The first and a second, any other discussion? And all in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for this information.
Thank you.
Now we're into our ordinance reviews. So we have 3 ordinances we're gonna be discussing tonight: the residential parking requirements, valet parking, and stormwater requirements. And I believe Galen is with us to walk us through.
Absolutely. Good evening, Board. So yes, tonight in front of you, there are a few proposed changes to the land use ordinance and the subdivision ordinance. I can go through them line by line if that's helpful. Currently, the Growth Planning Committee and the Planning Board have been reviewing these different standards because subdivision falls under Planning Board, land use falls under Growth Planning Committee. So there's 2 committees involved with this. That's gonna be brought before you. They are still, want to review it to make sure it's complete with the comprehensive plan. But we would like to get this language in front of you just to get your thoughts and to answer any questions that you might have. So with that being said, the first section is dealing with the land use ordinance. So this is Article 6 of the land use ordinance, and this is your parking standards. And so what happened was LD 427 was enacted by the legislature last June, and it went into effect in November of 2025. And what this stated was that we cannot require more than 1 parking space per dwelling unit. If you recall, back in November of last year when we did a land use update, we changed the residential standards for parking from 2 spaces down to 1 space if you have 2-bedroom units or less. Anything that was a 3-bedroom or more required 2 parking spaces. So what the language says in front of you right now is basically if you're in the growth area for 3 bedrooms or more, you only need 1 space if you're in the growth area. And where is that growth area? So the growth area is basically from Old Cape east and south, up through North Street before you get to the 5-way intersection. And then you have Cape Porpoise Square, east and west are all in the growth area. So that gives you a general geographical region of where that is. So
I have
that's
a
what that
question
Yep.
on that. Where are they gonna park? If it's only, if they have, 2 or 3 bedrooms, and say they might have 3 cars.
Mhm.
So they're gonna park on the street?
So,
Other places you can't park on the street.
But again,
The-
they
yeah,
can
the
have-
state-
They can have more, obviously.
Yeah, they can have
This
more.
is just, we can't deny someone who wants to build something with just 1. I think, I agree with you, it'd be foolish,
Yeah,
but we just no longer can deny it.
So I
We
would
can't
say,
save people from themselves.
so I would maybe say it differently. So first off, I wanna say, like all our committees, our growth plan committee shows up does work, and it's a great committee, and like all of our committees. So I want to put that out there because there's a lot of work that Galen and the committee have done to get here. Specifically for this one, I mean, Galen has to bring this forward because, like he said, it's a state law. For me personally, being the member to the committee, and listening to the conversations, I understand that the committee has to do this also, but from the board perspective, what I wanted to discuss with you guys is, I get that it's state law, but we have, in the growth area specifically, we have a parking issue. And so for me, just to put this in the ordinance as it is right now, without doing more work, because there's no rush really to get it done at this point. I mean, at some point it has to get in, but I think there's more work to get done, which is to answer the flip side of the coin that Alan brought up, which is this going to cause our critical issue of parking in the growth area? Is it going to exacerbate it? And if that answer is yes, or we believe it's going to be yes, then how do we alleviate it? What options do we have? So for example, I'm just making stuff up, but for example, if houses are on a street where there's no parking allowed in the growth area, which I believe we do have streets that have no parking allowed,
Right.
you know, would we try to insert ourselves and say, you know, this can't pertain to those because there's no option? So I don't know, and I do believe, you know, that there are stuff happening in the state with these laws, right? So they are doing a fix-it bill for
1829.
1829.
1829. I'd like to see what that is. And I also like to understand if there's anything that we can go back to the state on about this. Because again, they're looking at it from their point of view, which is right? So, but I think we have to do the work from our point of view, which is this critical issue in our town. And I won't vote to put this one forward, because I want to do the work. I want the team to do the work and say, is there a way to alleviate this?
So, can I ask, so I watched the meeting Tuesday night, and I understand what the growth area is, and this only pertains to the growth area, correct? Mm-hmm. And does it pertain to, with 1829, you can have an acre, you got four, you go down to an acre, you can put 4 homes on that, 4 dwellings on that acre, roughly.
And an ADU.
Right. But, so does it pertain to a single-family home? If I had a lot on Old Cape and I wanted to build a single-family home as a builder, and I'm gonna sell it, would this say that I am only required to put a one parking spot on that lot?
Yes.
Right, that's all the town could require. Well,
Yes.
could the town, does that pertain if you don't have to go to the planning board, or you have to be going to the planning board?
No, so this is a town-wide standard, so it
Okay.
applies to all development.
So I have a lot on Old Cape, I'm gonna build a home and sell it to someone. To save some costs, I'm only gonna put in one, you can only require me to put in 1 parking spot.
Yep.
May not make the sale logical if I've got 3 bedrooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to Mary Beth's point, to Alan's point, we do have a lot of roads in town that you cannot park on.
Right.
So I am concerned that, I understand it's a state law and we want to be in compliance with the state law. But I do think that there needs to be more work on what roads would this potentially impact? What would that say to the town in terms of having to put curbing in so that people could park on the road? I'm assuming you really can't have people building homes, putting in 1 parking spot. And if it's an acre and you have 4 units and, you know, you got all the other things, they may end up, the only option may be to park on the street. Because most people are gonna have more than 1 car. This to me is designed, I understand the intention from the state's perspective, but this is designed for urban areas. This is not designed for communities like ours, or even more rural communities, that the constituents and residents primarily need a car to get to and from wherever they're going. And in this day and age, most people have at least more than 1 car, so I would appreciate if there was maybe some more work thought about this before we agree to adopt it, and put it to the voters, because I think there are unintended consequences that are not being fully thought out, that need to be thought out before we kind of say, let's put this on the June warrant. That's where I'm at tonight. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stay there, but that's my thought on this.
Yeah, so, if a planner's, were in the legislature, I would think that the way this would go was the one space requirement would be acceptable if you were near public transportation.
Correct.
Like, that is good public policy.
Right.
That's not what happened. The planners are not in the legislature. So, I think this is the language we have to deal with as staff, though, and that's where we're putting in a uncomfortable situation where if we do not adopt the language, what are we going to do as a town? So
But what
that's-
is our timing on that? Where, is there a clock on this?
We
anywhere?
passed the deadline as of November 2025. We had to enact our changes.
Okay.
When do we have to adopt?
That was November of 2025.
So at the last
Yes.
Still
election.
already in the rears on
How many other community, I know you might not know this,
No.
but how many other communities are in the
I'd have to
rears?
look,
Right.
yeah.
And is the state really what's the state really gonna do if we aren't ready to move to this in June?
I don't think it's going to be the state. I think it's going to be any developer that we deny their application because we say you need 2 spaces and they say, well, no, here's the law.
Yeah, all right.
And then that's an additional legal cost, so
No,
that's.
I hear you, I just,
Yeah, I have a quick question. So a residential development, is there a limit on the number of structures in a residential development?
When I say residential development, I'm just saying broadly, any kind of development that's taking place that's of residential of nature, not commercial nature.
Yeah, but I'm reading from the statute.
Yeah.
And it says it applies to a residential development. So does that mean if I put up a residential development with 100 homes of 4 bedrooms each, I just need to have 100 parking spots within
Yep,
within that development?
yep.
Yeah.
That sort of defies reason.
Yeah, and so I think, so, again, I don't want to put, our employees, our office, in a state of peril. We did adopt, LD 2003 in a timely manner, in good faith. We were ahead of the curve, because of our ADU language that our town took our own actions on, so we were further ahead of any other towns. On this one, though, I do think, I understand what the state is doing. I think, David articulated it very well, what their intent and where this really applies and is applicable. I personally would like to go back to, our state reps and say, when you're doing these fix-it bills, is there a way that you could take a look at 471 again? Because we were good state stewards, and we brought in LD 2003, but this one's gonna cramp us. And so let's take it one step further than this conversation went also. So let's pick up on where Joe was going a little bit. So when 1829, did I get the number right?
You did.
Thanks. There's so many numbers. When 1829 goes in, so let's go downtown now. So in our growth area, a house goes down, 4 units go up, say it's 3 to 4 bedrooms each, and an ADU. That means there's only has to be on that parcel of land, 5 parking spots. And that means probably most of those places will have 2 more or 1 more, so there's another 5 spots someplace else in town minimum. And so it just, if you look at our problem, and if we just keep pushing everything through without taking a breath, and then talking to our rep and seeing if there's any way, anything that they can help us on, or solve it ourselves. Like, what are we gonna do if people can't park? And we have summer people, we have tourists that use these same spots. So I just,
It's gonna be a mess.
it makes no sense. Joe put it well, it just doesn't compute.
I think what you're hearing, Galen, I know where you're coming from, and if, I don't wanna just say adopt it because check, we've adopted it, right? And therefore, we're in compliance with the state. I'm not trying to be out of compliance, I know we're out of compliance, but I'm not trying to be difficult, but I am thinking that there are ramifications for a community like ours, or a lot of other towns, that no one's thinking about. And to Mary Beth's point, I mean, if you're down in the village, That's part of the growth area, right? I mean, you could have someone sell a home and put 4 units up on what is only 1 home now and have, 8 bedrooms or, whatever. And are we talking really 4? I mean, I think the people in the village have to think about what this actually implies to them. And people out where I am in the growth area on roads that have no on-street parking, need to think about that because it's gonna impact us as a community, and we don't have answers for any of it right now. I just think that it needs to be thought out more before we necessarily just throw this to the voters to vote for. That's all.
So just to bring this back to actions for staff. So normally when we bring you these ordinance proposals at this point of the year, it's still early on before we get ready for the warrant. So usually the board is giving us feedback like, amend this or change this, or let's look at this legal review, or we're not interested at all. So in this case, when you say do the work, or are we saying that you want us to investigate further? You want us to reach out to the state reps on your behalf, or I'm just trying to see.
So I would propose to the other board members that we, just like we talked with our state rep about 1829 and 971 and impacts, our perceived impacts to our town, our community, we should probably take the same action and when they're doing these fix-it bills to, at least have our voice heard and see if there's any off-ramp, literally, for this, parking. Can we get some breath here, and what would that look like? So I think that conversation needs to be had. And then maybe, I would propose maybe, do we have to look at how many streets we have in our growth area that don't have parking right now, just so that we can get an understanding of, and that might be helpful before we go to the state rep to say, this is our problem, and where do we put these cars? Because people in our town need to go to Biddeford to the grocery store, or Kennebunk to the grocery store, and they have to go someplace to the doctor. None of this is in our walking distance, to your point, Galen. So we have to have cars. And I think that's.
So you want a list of public roads that are prohibited parking and those that do not have in the growth area?
I think what would be helpful is if you could come up with a list of all the roads in the growth area, because this is who's impacted, right? And alphabetically could list those roads and just say, with the help of the chief and all that, and just say, or whatever, just say, no on-street parking allowed, no, Oak Cape, you can't park, I mean, you could, but you really can't park there overnight, right? And just do it that way, Town Street, West Street, Oak Street, they can't have it, but this may require them to have it.
Yes.
And it would just be good to know that, because I think it could lead to a better conversation of, look, these are the impacts this community will have if you continue with this.
So maybe it's coming, getting that information, coming back to the board to help us understand the extent of what a problem could look like, to David's points. And also then, to David's point, would we make some of these streets have on-street parking? And if we did, Eric could tell us what would have to happen to that street and what's the cost of it, and these would be good informations that we would have if we go to talk, when we go to talk to our state rep. State reps.
So is that the direction of the board?
I think that's.
I mean, that's what I would like to see. The others can weigh in.
Joe, are you good with that, or you want something else?
No, many of the streets that people would be required to park on aren't physically situated to accept cars parked on them, especially overnight. So if you went through with this, you'd have to spend some amount of resources, money, time, and you'd have to change the physical structure of some streets to allow this, correct?
So I believe that's why we have no parking on certain streets, to make sure that access is not impeded.
But Galen, yes.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Yeah.
That if you put up a 40-home residential development and you require 40 parking spots, and there's 100 cars or 80 cars, they're gonna have to park somewhere. And one would think it would be on the street. But, you know, the statute talks about if you're within a quarter of a mile of, you know, municipal parking, and developers can have parking sharing fees and all, but that doesn't
That's not
apply
us.
here. I mean, it's just a non-applicable or very difficult to apply, and to apply it as written would cost, I think, an exorbitant amount of money, time, and change the character of many, many of the streets in the growth zone.
This legislation is geared towards Portland, Biddeford, Lewiston, the Bangor. It's not geared to Kennebunkport, Kennebunk. It's not geared to these suburban communities. It's not geared to these rural communities. These legislators have done something trying to deal with urban issues, which, to Joe's point, this goes on in other municipalities, larger cities. Those people have options. They have public transportation, so maybe they take a subway or a bus. They have multiple parking lots that they can rent for overnight. We don't have any of that. I mean, but we might have to start looking into that. That's what I'm saying. You just get us an inventory of the streets that this is impacting.
Yep,
We can go.
we can do that. So the other section of the land use ordinance is Article 10. This is your site performance standards that are also relating with parking. So this is the only performance standard we have in the site plan and in the land use ordinance sections that relate to any sort of parking layout or arrangement. And so what the current language says is you have to allow for each vehicle to be independently moved without moving another vehicle. And so what we're amending this to do is to give greater flexibility to the property owners. If they want to submit an alternative parking arrangement or management plan on their site, such as valet parking, if they want to control that on their site, they just need to get approval from the planning board and from the chief of police and fire department to make sure that their access is not impeded by the parking arrangement layout if they need to get access to the building in the event of emergency.
So this is if you want to stack cars, basically,
Yep.
and, yeah.
Parking. Yes.
So I
But
think
there would be a valet attendant.
That's right, it would have to be attended.
This
yeah.
is more commercial.
Yes, this is commercial. This is only for site plan layout for commercial arrangements.
Yeah, so I think the committee, the growth plan committee, there was all agreement on this, and no one saw an issue, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and we have businesses that have it already, so I don't have a problem with it.
Article 6 also has another section, but it's also dealing with Chapter 415, and this is all with stormwater management. And so we are adding a new performance standard for stormwater management. As you're aware, 2 years ago, we had major flooding that took place in town, and it started a conversation in the growth planning committee as an important item that we needed to address for new development moving forward. So what this is essentially saying is if you have a new dwelling that's 800 square feet or greater, or a new addition such as a garage, a new shed, whatever it is, it's 800 square feet or more, it has to control the stormwater on the property at the same rate as what it was before the development took place. And so that is part of the language that this is dealing with. There's another section in the site plan review process, and you'll see that in Article 10, and what that's referring to is the stormwater standards have not been up to date to deal with what are we going to do with a 100-year flood event that takes place in town. You need to give a narrative of some sort to the planning board on how your best management practices when you have a 10,000 square foot facility or greater of impervious surface. If there's any impact, how are you addressing a 100-year rain event, which is, we're getting them more frequently. So Acorn Engineering, who does a lot of our third-party review for stormwater management plans for the planning board, they recognize that we have not updated this standard, so they are recommending this change, as well as in our subdivision standards. You'll notice that in the subdivision standards, they were referencing a very outdated term about total suspended solids, how you're going to capture that. And that is no longer used by Maine DEP or engineering firms in today's standards. So we're updating that to address what is actually in place to manage stormwater as it relates to a subdivision plan. So any questions on those sections.
So, I'll just bring to the board, I shared with the committee, at the meeting this past week, the questions or comments I was gonna make to the select board about this. So I think, again, the committee with Galen have done an extraordinary amount of work to bring this forward. I just have a few concerns that I wanted to share with the board and then have our board discussion. So, you know, part of this is we've lived in town where some houses have raised, they've added fill to their property, they sit higher, and then just in a normal rainstorm, they flood out their neighbor. And then it was extremely exasperated when we had the storm in January a few years ago. So I think that was meant, you know, part of this, the mindset of the committee when this started to trickle out, it was like that should be something that the growth committee should try to solve. And with Galen's help, you know, this was what came forward. So that's part of the problem, along with everything else that Galen had mentioned. I think when I read through the final thing from Acorn, the discussion we had, one of the points I asked last week was to the average homeowner building here in town, when we're trying to, we have this affordable housing build in our head all the time, right, because of our town expense. Would this add costs? Like, could an average homeowner open up a book and say, okay, planning board, this is how I'm doing it? And the answer was yes, but they would have to really dig into it. And so the average, or probably 99.8% of our residents doing builds over 800 square feet are going to have to, you know, in their build process, use a professional somewhere in the cycle. So that will be another professional added into the mix. So my question back and the thought process is, you know, given that we were trying to look at some finite areas, like we don't want people adding fill, you know, raising their homes, you know. In this language they can raise their house, but it has to be a flow through, so they're not dumping water and going on. So could we finite this a little bit so it's not just anybody over 800 square feet, and, you know, such things as if you have enough property around you? So is there a way not to grab everybody, but grab those that we're really trying to correct? And the second part of it is there a way, because when some of the state experts came in the very beginning of this process and went through stormwater best practices, they came with a little menu of things you could do. So is there a way that we could give our homeowners a menu and say, pick from one of these that are applicable, you know, to your land, and as long as you do that, you know, we're good. They can bring to the planning board which one they're picking, and that would at least get us away from, you know, quote, bringing the professionals in. So I didn't know if there was a version of this that would take a step in the right direction, but not the language level that Acorn Engineering came back to us with, because I was hesitant about this because of what I perceive it's going to be another cost to our build cycles there.
Yeah, you'd have to have some clairvoyance to be able to think of every possible problem in terms of your first thought for an addition. If you could have a menu that, again, every site is going to be different. To me, I just don't see how that would make sense personally. And this is an important issue. We've seen several homes that have impacted their neighbors detrimentally. And with the rainfalls that we're seeing, with the increased rainfalls, we're about to encounter an atmospheric river like we haven't had maybe in our recorded history coming this weekend. The amount of water that's going to move across our continent is totally unprecedented. And we're going to see more and more of these, and I think this is an important piece to add.
So my thought is, listening to it, is I agree it's important, and we have to deal with stormwater. I did listen to the presentation. I do think that there are this applies to every homeowner, correct? So this isn't just subdivisions, that's how it goes. It's every homeowner. And again, we just all went on a tour of the affordable housing project, which I think everyone was impressed with. my concern is that, and we just kind of delayed doing wastewater things because of the cost that it might cost the homeowner. And now I think we need to just refine this better, to Mary Beth's point, and kind of hone in on what we're trying to achieve here, because this does require professionals. And and they're not coming in for $1,000 to design these systems for people. Or if you're building a new home, LD 1829 is gonna come and we're gonna take this 1 acre and possibly multiply it a lot. I don't know how you're gonna keep stormwater on 1 acre, right? I mean, I'm fully in support of trying to deal with stormwater, but it's just without thinking of the further implications this has, I don't know if we're there yet with that. It needs to be refined more. We cannot keep adding costs to the people of the town just to check off that we've done something.
Well, this is more than just check. This is not checking off that we've done
But,
something.
John,
There is an issue with stormwater.
I know that there's an issue, John, but there's also people in town who can't afford $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 just to get a stormwater management on their property to put a new garage on.
And then you have to go ahead and do it.
And then you have to do it. And then it came up in the conversation, who's gonna monitor it? Who's gonna do all of this? And I'm not against it. I'm saying I think it just needs to be tweaked some more and maybe honed in a little better, in my opinion, right now. It's not ready, today it's not ready to go to the June ballot. Doesn't mean it can't get there. I think I'm just gonna, we just toured something today that almost $15,000 to $25,000 of the cost of that home is based on ordinance things just in this town alone, and that's being conservative, okay? It's becoming unaffordable, and the affordability is the big thing that everyone's talking about, right? From Mondami to Trump. I mean, everyone's talking about affordability. This is one way of potentially not taking that into consideration, that there are a lot of people who cannot afford this stuff. That's my opinion, right now.
My recollection from the planning committee was there were typically wastewater plans on most of the submissions that are brought, right? I mean, even when Goose Rock, I'm sorry, even when the Goose Rocks Beach, people were doing the repairs after the storm and they were changing, the riprap and it seemed there were well thought out, designed wastewater plans. Do we require that now? What's the difference? I mean, if this goes through, what's the difference from the planning process that the homeowners are gonna have to go through to get their, to get their building permits?
Yep. So the only time that a stormwater management plan is currently required is if you have 10,000 square feet of impervious surface, which there's some projects that you've seen on the planning board where that does trigger. The other situation is just like the neighborhood housing trust. When a subdivision occurs, then they have to do a stormwater management plan for that. But anything less than 10,000 square feet, there's no requirement for any kind of stormwater management plan. But you are correct that most people do hire contractors when they do building permits, as well as planning board applications. They hire other agents. They hire architects. They hire engineers. They're already paying for consultants. So I really think we should think about what the average homeowner is. What did we define that as? And what is the cost of this development versus the potential impact cost that we will have to take on as a community later on to manage stormwater when it goes out to our roads or causes damage to other neighbors' properties.
And I think there's some, so again, this isn't like throw it all out, and I just wanted John to make sure that he understands that I believe we all agree with you that this is a serious problem, and we're not belittling that at all. We're just trying to make sure, I think what some of us are trying to say is we're just trying to make sure that we're really concentrating on where the problem is versus doing it across everything. So for example, where my head is at, easy peasy one is don't add fill, don't raise your land if you have neighbors X amount of feet away from you and your land can't handle it. So to me, those are things that are almost like a go-do. Yeah, you don't want somebody adding fill and raising their house up, and then the people that live next door that are retired and are living off their savings that can't afford to raise their house that you're gonna dump. So those are things that I think are very clean cut.
But who would pay for that? But I don't see, if we could say, don't do that, and then someone would bring a submission and say, well, I've looked at it and it won't do that, so it's okay.
No, I'm saying that
You still have to hire somebody. Somebody still needs to sign off on the physics of what is happening there, that the stormwater's gonna be okay, what this,
so
I thi-
what
I
I'm.
think
plan
what I'm
does.
Mary
sa-
Beth's saying that, yes,
Yes.
there would be times when we should have
Yes.
people hire someone. It's just she would like to define what those times
Yeah,
are.
I would like to have the scope narrowed, and I think that's, I think that's what we're all heading towards is, so to David's point, and the points raised here today, if we could avoid raising the average cost of home building for everybody, but we could really focus in on the areas, like if my lot size is XYZ, I need to do stormwater runoff. If I'm in the growth zone and I put up 4 houses instead of 1, I'm doing a stormwater zone. So I think there's that table of who's going to fall into this bucket, and then this is what they need to do. But if I'm sitting on an acre of flat land, or 2 acres of flat land, and I've got, I can absorb my water, I've got enough just natural permeability around me that we're just gonna have to say it as a community that they have that. Then we're gonna be okay. Will we be 1,000% great as this might get us? No, but 1,000%, in my opinion, gets us to a point where we add cost, which in today's day and age, we have to be very cautious if we're adding costs to the bills.
So,
That's-
what,
Go ahead.
And it's gonna be more than $2,000 or $3,000 to get this done. You have to go ahead and have some kind of consultant come in and give you.
I wouldn't think so if you were on flat land with your neighbors and your land can absorb it. But it doesn't matter. I think we're creating ghosts that really don't exist, but let's continue on.
so,
So I'm hearing from the board,
So
still
Joe-
need to do
Joe's
more
getting-
research.
Joe- Joe's getting something.
so I'm just curious, what does the planning committee think of this? Have we asked them, hey, how do you think this will integrate into your process? And how can you do this with certainty that you're keeping people within all of our building codes and regulations, but we're not adding an additional cost or requirement? I'm just curious, have we asked those?
So the Growth Planning Committee has been working on this.
Yeah, I got
language,
that.
yep.
I got that.
So the
I'm-
planning board, they were given the language because it deals with the subdivision sections.
Right.
And they did, at the request of Acorn, we did look at that section to update that, because that is something that is out of date right now. We're getting a lot of questions about that particular section.
But it would seem to me, and I'm sorry, I'm not accustomed to public speaking, but that who is the focal point that's actually going to apply this? If we change it in the ordinance, then that's going to trigger a change to the building code, right? Then the planning board is going to be that guardian or that funnel that everything has to go through. And I think it makes sense to me, or I'd like to hear from the planning board, and, do you think this is a problem? And if you think it's a problem, what do we need to do to get in compliance with the statute, keeping in mind that we want to keep costs and the bureaucratic time cost also of having to go through these exercises that you don't have to do. I'd like to hear what they have to say, too.
And just so I can be clarified, this isn't just homes going to the planning board. It's me, right? Or anyone in this audience who wants to do something to their individual home.
Yep.
Who is going to have to get a building permit and going to have to submit this to your office.
Yep.
For your review, which could be going back and forth. I'm just, right,
Yep.
works, doesn't work, so I think it is going beyond what I would have to do right now.
Yes,
So it is another
yes.
thing I would have to do and incur costs if I was to do something on my property, or anyone in this audience was to do something on their property.
Correct.
And I understand, to Mary, I'm on 3 acres, flat land for the most part. It may be a very simple plan, John, but it's,
Why?
for a lot
I
of
would like to
people,
know
for a lot
what
of
that would
people.
cost.
So I think they need to do some more work.
Yeah, I think we can find out, and I think that'd be great. Let's look at some examples of somebody that's on flat land with not much around them. What would that cost? I mean, if it's $100 signing off because it's a good thing, it's one thing. If it's 10,000, it's certainly something else. So,
But
it
it-
sounds like affordability is the main key here. So let's see what kind of dollars we're talking about.
And I also think if you're gonna regulate something, you need to have a method to understand, who it applies to, and then who applies it. So if it's gonna be, if you're on 3 flat acres, that's somehow written into the process that says, if you're on 3 flat acres and you wanna do something of less than X thousand square feet, you don't have to provide a professional plan, or you don't need to get an engineer. But if you're in some complicated situation with slopes and hills and abutters, then you need to. And I think this is another sort of broad brush approach, not, it's the way the statute is written, but that is not, we need to fine tune it a little for application, I think, here. And I need a little more information moving forward.
And I think that's what I was trying to get at, which was, could we focus it on the critical thing that we're really trying to achieve? So, a neighborhood that only has so many 100 feet in between, whatever, somebody that's on a slope. So could we, and then could we just, bring it in a narrow scope, and then I think then we really achieve what we're trying to achieve, which is stop the runoff without incurring any costs.
And I would just like to, in that meeting, listening to that, the one thing that was said that was kind of one of those things, and I think it's key for residents in the town. This is kind of written for engineers to understand. Our ordinances and our goal should be that it's something that residents can understand. So we shouldn't be writing things that you need a lawyer or an engineer to figure it out. You should be writing it should be written in layman's terms that basically the residents can also understand. They may need a lawyer, they may need some help, but we can't be writing things that the general public doesn't know what it's talking about. So that maybe you need to look at too. In my humble opinion.
Okay.
Do you have your direction you need?
Yep.
Laura, you satisfied?
Glad you got up.
Always.
Yeah.
All righty,
I'll see you later.
thank you.
If you put your suit on, you have to have some dialogue, right?
Who wants to come in front of the board next?
Well, we've got a good one. It's the proposed updates to the commercial bus operation ordinance, and introduce and understand about the proposed reservation system.
Yes, so I just want to start off by saying that, that last summer we had received quite a few complaints about the way the buses were operating on Cross Street. And, we're a very popular destination. That's the good news. And the bad news is we're a very popular destination. And so David and John and Yanina and Sarah Vanderschaff have been working and talking about how those buses operate, what are some of those challenges and potential solutions. We met with the chamber, we met with Northern America Destinations that handles the cruise ship buses out of Portland. And we went back to our ordinance that we had on the books and did some history in terms of what had happened before when the town had the issues with the buses and what the challenges were and then what the outcome was. So Yanina is going to give you an overview, and David and John, I'm sure, will add to whatever we have. But I want to be clear that this has been some misunderstanding out there that we're going to vote on ordinances tonight, and that is not the case at all. We want to make sure the board understands what the ordinance is that's currently on the books and still active, and get some feedback from you, and just laid out some potential changes to give you a sense of how that might be managed. But there's a lot of community conversation that needs to happen ahead.
Good evening, board. I'm Yanina Nicholas, Director of Support Services for Town of Kennebunkport. So to answer Mary Beth's question, it's me. I'm next. So it is a big topic, and I want to give you a little background, and I would like David to add at any point because he's been heavily involved in this process. So the background of this, as you might know, and Lori mentioned, we have an ordinance that was created or updated in 2003. So this current ordinance is called Commercial Operation of Tour Buses, and it does address tour buses drop-offs and pickups in one specific location, which is Cross Street. It does have a few other mentionings of other streets, but it's specifically directed for Cross Street. So this, the Chamber of Commerce is an entity that is managing our current drop-off and unloading zone or pickup zone. It has worked for many years, but recently, as Lori mentioned, we started receiving feedback from residents that it kind of stopped working in terms of there is a cluster there. Because when we looked on the map, Cross Street is not that long of a street, and you really can fit only 3 buses in one time. Yet what residents reported was there are 4 or 5 buses plus trolley plus shuttle come to those streets, to that street specifically, and it creates a lot of cluster for residents and for tourists. So we started looking into this issue, and my department was assigned to this together with David. And what you have in front of you is current language of the 2003 ordinance, so up to, it will still use it, and the proposed language that you may not take. This is just something for your consideration. Those some points that I would like the board to consider, but it doesn't mean you have to take them. So do you want me to take them quickly one by one? The points that I've proposed? Okay. So current language, which is 2003 ordinance, says that any tour bus has specific limitations with exceptions, so those limitations do not apply to school buses, trolleys, and shuttle buses. So item for your consideration is to remove shuttle bus from this exception and make shuttle buses go towards general ordinance and make them comply with general ordinance. Again, you don't have to take this at all.
So they would need to get a reservation, the
Correct.
same as any larger bus, is the suggestion.
Is the suggestion.
It's a suggestion right now, but I do want to stress to people that this is simply a working document. This is not a set document. We will definitely have more public conversations, but go on.
Exactly.
So
That's correct.
Right, I don't want people to feel that this is, there's no vote, and so.
How large are these shuttle buses? I'm not familiar with what the shuttle, I know the trolley, that.
Well,
I
it
got,
depends. I think 18-seater shuttle bus.
18 usually, and
About.
are they locally? They're hotels.
For hotels, yeah.
Ah, so this is the Colony and the Nonantum and folks.
That's
Got it.
correct.
Got it.
Yes. So that's one of the items for residents at the public meeting to consider and for you, the board, to consider. So another current language piece, so 2003 ordinance, says that commercial tour buses may utilize Cross Street to discharge or pick up passenger, and they're limited to 10 minutes to accomplish this task. So when we reviewed this ordinance, a lot of tourists that come are elderly people who are in their retirement and they love to visit Kennebunkport. And this is a little, it's just not enough time to get off the bus and to get on the bus. It just, they have to hurry up, which can create a lot of safety issues. So the suggestion is to go to 20 minutes to accomplish this task. So the next point is no more than 10 commercial tour buses that have made and required advanced notification will be scheduled per hour each day between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. So what we suggest is to limit it to 9 buses. If we limit it to 20 minutes per bus, let's say drop-off, you can fit 3 buses. So there is 3 buses in one given 20-minute slot. You really can go only to 9 buses per hour. So That's why we're changing this language.
Yep, we're not changing it yet.
No, no,
We're-
this is the proposal. That's why you're
Correct.
proposing a change. this.
Proposing, yes.
And the shuttles are considered a tour bus here? They would be included in those numbers, or are they, so they would be?
That's the proposal, if
So
the
this
board
would
will
say
decide to
commercial
go so.
tour bus or shuttle, right? So that would, that's when we got there.
I mean, another option to consider is perhaps local shuttle buses should have a different.
A different
be
spot. I think that would make a lot of
That was gonna be my
sense,
next question.
especially with a smaller number. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So the next piece of this, the suggestion, basically, if commercial buses come and they do not have reservation, current language, 2003 language, says that it will be subject to a space availability. So if we would decide to go in the direction of reservation system, the proposal is to make it must discharge and pick up passengers in the nearby municipalities if they do not have reservation, or to pay double fee, wherever the fee will be. Okay? And the last piece is, again, three commercial buses at a time. So there's really no more space for than three.
So I'd like to see, I hope that the chamber would send some representative the next time we have this meeting, so, because they represent the business community, and I'd like to hear some feedback from them.
Absolutely.
So
And-
the plan, just so I can jump in here, the plan is, I just want to, Yanina and Sarah and myself and John have been meeting with people, with the residents, some residents. We've started this conversation. I want to let people know that this conversation is going to continue before anything changes. The goal is to get something in place for this season. So we have a time frame, but I will have insisted that this be an open process that allows the businesses to come and talk, allows residents to come and talk before we make any final decisions. I would like to host, and we're planning on trying to host some community forums, maybe at the library or someplace that people can come and talk about what they would like to see with the bus situation. There may be some long-term bus issues that need to be looked at. They're not going to happen for this year. Let me say, the buses are going to continue to come, and we cannot stop them, nor is that desire to stop them. But I've heard loud and clear from the residents that this is no longer sustainable as it currently works. So that is what this process is about, and we're going to go on from there. But we will be having some community forums.
Right, and I think that what Yanina tried to provide is just a straw man for you to look at, because one of the questions is, do we want to go back to a reservation system? Do we think that would be beneficial? If we do, what would those parameters look like? One of the things Yanina looked at is how could we have a reservation software system? So she found a very reasonably priced one that we could try, in a quick time frame. But if, we have not been meeting the buses or really enforcing the elements, and that's what I heard this past summer was from residents, is you're not enforcing the elements of how many buses an hour. We are not really educating the employees about that who may be staffed there. And so the chamber has been very good in picking up the ball in that time period. But, the question is, are we going to be doing more than just greeting the buses? There are buses that tell us they're coming, and there are buses that don't tell us they're coming. So it's a whole host in between, and we're trying to get some idea of where your heads are at as we begin these community conversations.
Do you want some feedback from us?
Sure, and then we'll walk to the next part, which is to show you something.
So I think if you're asking, so my opinion is, from what we've heard from residents, that it would behoove us to get a reservation system in, and it would also behoove us to have us manage it. I think eyes on, being able to be accountable for our residents and our businesses, I think those two things would be great. And if that could happen for this season, that would be awesome, right? So if those things could happen, that would be great. I would just, not being in the conversations and just hearing this, you know, from a layperson's perspective, 3 buses on Cross Street, unloading and loading, short street like that, I guess I would defer to what the community feedback is on that. But to me, that it seems a lot. I don't know, you know, I guess my questions are, is it really feasible for people, other residents to get through that space? You know, could we alleviate it by not letting the trolley on that road, or some other things that usually try to use that road? And, you know, could we just lessen the thoroughfare if we're gonna have the 3 buses? I just wanna always make sure that our police and fire can get through and stage, because that is the backside of a lot of our businesses. They're right there at the port, that I believe that fire would have to access and emergency would have to access to get to tourists or anybody down in that street on Dock Square side. I think that's, you know, I think this is really good work so far. I love the reservation system. If you know, that's something that we can do, I think that would be a great first step.
Well, and as you know, 3 would be an improvement to what we've had in terms of the number of buses that have been there. My biggest concern, a concern I have is are the rogue buses, are the ones that we're gonna have showing up that did not enter into the reservation system. And I would suggest we look at something more than double fee. That becomes a pretty cheap way to not make a reservation, show up and dump off some people. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I think a little bigger. I'm sorry, Al.
Go ahead.
That Cross Street, it's not a street. And if you have 3 buses, it's less of a street than it is without the 3 I mean, I would explore, you know, something else. Maybe all the big buses go here, and there's a shuttle that needs to be run between here and,
That cannot happen.
well, okay, then it can't happen, then,
That's,
you know.
the thing, you
No,
got the trouble is,
I-
I'm all
that's
for it,
fine
Joe.
then.
I'm all for it for a suggestion, but we need a suggestion, and here is probably not a workable
Well,
one.
the suggestion
so-
is,
we-
think bigger. That's my,
Well, I
maybe have, you
it's
know,
not that we haven't been trying to think bigger.
well, we have 90 acres right over there that is, you could
That-
put a
that
parking
has- that
spot
has come up.
in, and it just seems we're, you know, Cross Street is not getting any bigger, the buses are getting bigger, they're more frequent, there's more traffic, some people think it's a one-way street, some people think it's not a one-way street. It's a bad situation, and Band-Aids are cool, but I would just, you know, and I don't have the answers, but that's not my job. My job is to make questions for other people and to come with proposals.
It will be your job.
Okay?
It would be nice to find a better place, I agree.
I
sure.
think that is part of a longer conversation that needs to have, but the goal here for this year is to get a system in place to deal with it for this season. To follow up is just to let people know some other things. We have had some conversations with Maine, the Tourism Department of Maine, and we did go, so what you're gonna get is, we went out, we had a postcard made up. There is, believe it or not, there is a tour bus convention that takes place in Reno in January, where all the tour bus operators. No, I did not go. But
I'll go to that.
Maine does go, and we had these postcards made up, and they were passed out for us to the tour bus operators. We did get some feedback. Obviously, the tour bus operators were not happy that the town of Kennebunkport had come to life and was gonna maybe start dealing with this issue, but they also know that there was an issue. So we're working through that. I just want people to know we are working through
I
this.
like what this says. It says, thinking
And
about
so,
Kennebunkport, go to Bar Harbor.
So do you have this thing, right? You have you can bring it up?
It's
I
right
think we
there.
can, yeah, so, and everyone's gonna get one of these tonight, because I'm gonna ask you to play with this, but you wanna walk us through it a little bit? So
Sure,
just- So this is
absolutely.
what was given out to the tour bus operators at their convention in Reno.
Sure. So that leads us to the second point of this memo, which is proposed bus reservation system. That is, again, if the board will decide to go with a bus reservation system. And I also want to point out that board cannot make any of these changes without public hearing. So this is not a public hearing, this is me talking to the board.
The public hearing's not happening for a few weeks.
I mean, people welcome to speak if the board allows, but it's not a public hearing. So, proposed reservation system, I looked at the multiple companies, and one of
Can we
the,
go back to the QR code, just so they, oh, is it up there?
we can,
Okay.
QR code is only on the
All right, it's
cards.
not on the- okay.
And it will bring you to this site. Is that
Right,
Which
the
will
QR
bring
code
you
that you're all gonna get will
to
bring you
this-
to
this
this.
site?
Yes, to this side. So basically, we created postcards, and in those postcards, we notified or tried to notify bus companies that, hey, stay in touch, talk to us. We might have some updates, because what we currently have does not necessarily work, not for tourists, neither for our residents. So please stay in touch. No promises, no anything else, just stay in touch. So there is a QR code. The one that went to the conference in Reno leads to my direct email address, okay? That QR code goes to my email. This QR code, though, that the board just received, leads you to a reservation system that, if board will adopt, we can look at. So the system we propose is called Calendly, which is, one, is simple to use. Two, is not an abnormal application in the business society, so people use it for reserving meetings, etc. That's why I thought this was brilliant, because people know how to use Calendly. I asked a few town members and employees to look at it and try it out, and it was extremely easy to do. So what you see is the front page behind you. Basically, if you scan the QR code on the card, it brings you to this page, and it says Kennebunkport bus drop-off and pickup. It says 20 minutes because, again, that was just a suggestion that I had. If the board will decide to go with different time frame, that will be changed. It says Cross Street, Kennebunkport, Maine. There's a little description of why we're doing what we're doing. And then you can, on the right side, select a date and time. So circled in blue time days are those that open for reservations. The way it is currently set up, that you cannot make reservations, that you have to make reservation at least 3 days ahead. That's why you don't see openings 22nd, 23rd, 24th. The first opening you see is 25th. So it's and it is currently in our ordinance that we have to have at least 3 days notice. So that's a fair notice. Dave, can you please click on the, let's say 26 or 27? So if you click, then you will see on the right side, you see time frames. And those time frames go from 9 a.m., just like ordinance says, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Each of those have 20-minute slots. So 9 a.m. to 9:20 has 3 spots available. So 3 buses could pick that spot. So Dave, can you please click at 9? Then you click next. And then it brings you to the details. This information can be anything the board will decide to gather as a data. So currently I put first name, last name, email, company name, mailing address, phone number, send text messages to. And we're not going to go through this process right now. It will just take time. But then you click schedule an event, and it brings you to the final page and says, good job. And then both the host and invitee receive an email that says, you made a reservation. You can cancel this reservation, or you can reach out to the host and say, hey, do you have any updates? This system also does send text notifications if we would decide to send text notifications, reminders. It is really easy way to communicate. One of the, another piece that this system can do for us, it can collect fees. So currently this setup without fees. I tried it with the fees, just tried on my card, I put like $2. I connected it to the town Stripe account. For those who doesn't know, Stripe is just another financial application like PayPal. We use Stripe. Currently, Stripe is used for short-term rental applications, but it works really well with the system. And it's just like any other application. You press pay, you add your card information, and it goes to Stripe. So it can collect fees if the board will decide so, and it can track data. So we can export data as a CSV file in Excel, and we can use that for whatever purposes the board will decide so. The only piece I want to mention is that 20-minute slot, it is either for pickup or drop-off. It's not for both. It's, you have to reserve 2 slots if you want to drop off and pick up people, okay? So the annual cost of Calendly is $240, which I thought in the world of applications is pretty reasonable. So with that, the proposal or suggestion that staff has is to charge $25 per 20 minutes time slot. The reason for this price is, one, we have to cover the annual cost of the application, and if we will take on ownership of cross-street parking reservation system, we need to have a dedicated person for this. It's going to be a part-time or temporary seasonal employee, just like we have for police department, but we still have to have this extra human there. So we would have to budget for 1 part-time seasonal employee May through end of October. We might have challenges, especially in the fall time, because students go to schools and it's going to be challenging to find someone. But you know, we're willing to try if the board willing to allow this for us. And then enforcement solutions. If we will have that person, I think enforcement will be easier than what we have now. We don't have many police officers, as you know. At any given time, we have 1 or 2 officers that have to monitor a lot of different activities. So if we have a dedicated person, it should make it manageable.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So say if you have 3 buses due in at 9 a.m., they all make reservations. 2 of them get there at 9 a.m., 1 bus is 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late due to traffic or something like that. So what happens then?
So there are a few options that we can propose. This system can put buffers. So I can put, so let's say 20-minute time slot, then a buffer of 15 minutes, the next slot starts, right? So we can put buffers if we want. That 15-minute buffer is not assigned to anyone. It's just a buffer. That's one option. Another option is that's that. You lost your spot.
You lost your spot.
Yes, it's just an option. I'm not speaking that's something you want to do, but that's another option. And then they would either have to see what's availability on the cross street, or they will have to go to Kennebunkport, Biddeford, etc.
I mean, to some of these questions, I mean, we are not the only town dealing with this. We have neighbor towns like Gunquit deals with this, other towns deal with it. So we have places we can go to find out. This is a worldwide problem in some ways in many tourist towns. So we don't have all the answers right now, but we appreciate these questions, but I just want to, we don't have all of it. To your point, Alan, what happens if someone's late? What happens if someone's early? You know, I mean, but sometimes when you snooze, you lose, right? I mean, we don't have the answers yet. I think we need to get feedback from the community too.
So
before we
I have a
come up
couple more comments, just
Yep.
when you start getting the broader meetings together, to go after so when I hear about creating a different spot for the buses to drop off and that thought process, I think there's another thing that we have to think about, which is capacity of our town. So if we open the aperture and create a space where we can take more than what we're currently getting in, we have more people going in, foot traffic in our town, and if you press that button forward, that's essentially what Bar Harbor had to deal with. They had the cruise ships
Yep.
come out, and then it was just foot traffic that nobody could handle, no restaurants could handle, nothing. You just had people out in the streets. So, and that's another thing that we're hearing from residents is they can't enjoy the town during these peak travel seasons. So I think, in an effort, what my thought process is we're trying to strike a balance of fairness between residents and being able to utilize their town and enjoy the port during the season, and a balance of the businesses and getting people in to also enjoy our town. So I think, for me, creating a separate space, as long as we don't increase capacity, is fine, but I want people to keep a capacity thought process. And the second thing I have to add is just when you guys are thinking it through, going out to 7 p.m., is that really what, I guess I would ask, what is the normal times that these tour companies operate? And if it doesn't have to go out to 7 p.m., we should have the ordinance align up to what people are actually utilizing for our time.
Well, I was thinking about if we could find a better spot that wasn't downtown, right downtown.
I agree.
And not necessarily expand it, but be able to take the people from one spot to that spot without jamming up downtown. You know, with these three buses.
These buses are 45 people, so now you're gonna have shuttles, how are you gonna, it's just the logistics of moving people back and forth. You still got a bus. I mean, how are you gonna get those people in and get them back out to wherever this remote place is? So it's an issue.
This is also, people have to
Yeah, but
remember
even the-
that this is not just Kennebunkport. We also are in cooperation with the town of Kennebunk, and they may have solutions that will also get incorporated into this. There are places that buses can park in Kennebunk. So to your point, Alan, like, if you're late for your reservation, doesn't mean that there isn't a free parking spot in the town of Kennebunk that you could possibly access. Doesn't mean your guests are gonna be happy, but I just want to let people, we're working a lot of this, so.
Yeah, and again, not to minimize the complexity of the problem, but if you focus on Cross Street, then you have to focus on, that's like focusing at the terminal on the airport, right? How many planes are going to be able to reel up to the terminal, and you got a 20-minute load, and everybody jumps off the plane, and the plane takes off. If you look to the sky, 10 miles past the runway, there's 50 planes on each other's back. And,
Lined up.
yeah, lined up. And there's only one place for them to line up, and that's right down Main Street here. So if, to Alan's point, if one bus is delayed, then two buses are going to be delayed, then you have this whole domino effect, and then you're going to have more traffic problems, and I don't think it's going to solve the problem that we're setting out to address.
I think your analogy's good, and that large area, staging area, might be something, I don't know, like the trolley car museum that's been used, or something where buses would, if they're responsible, would come a little bit early to be sure
Yeah.
they're gonna be on time to get in there and get out. So this may be a multiple stage thing, where buses could stage themselves so that they can get in time.
You know, other towns do that. There's a staging area, and you kind of, it's like when you do a reservation at a restaurant, you get the beep, you're free to walk, come into town. You know, Uber, airports do this with Uber drivers, right? You have to stay there until your passenger is outside the terminal and checks you in, and you're then released from the lot to come in. I mean, these are things that could be looked at. This isn't gonna happen for this season. I mean,
David,
it's like-
does Lower Village have a bus dropping off now?
there is a drop-off spot, I'm gonna say, in front of Pedro's.
It's like buses
So
are
they
dropping
can
off.
drop off there. The feedback has been that the people on the bus don't necessarily like being dropped off there because it's too far of a walk. And so, I mean, you know, yes, it might be, but, you know, there are plenty of towns that actually close their entire center off, and you want to go visit, you have to walk in. So I'm just saying, I want people to appreciate, that's not going to happen for this season.
Right.
So having this conversation about this is not helping what we're trying to achieve for May or June of this year.
I think we have to talk with Kennebunk about Lower Village and their
We-
Main Street to see
Well, that's,
what they can do to entice people
well,
wanting to go.
Just so you know, that was part of a conversation. That was part of a conversation already.
So I did talk to Kennebunk's town manager, just to give him heads up that we have this going on, and this ordinance might change their community as well. That's how Pedro's came up. But in Kennebunk, I think a lot of private businesses have arrangements with buses, so they do not see as much inundation as we do, because they have other specific spots, and those spots are attached to private businesses. Kennebunk was thankful for the update, but they don't have this problem as of now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
I do want to ask folks, so before you leave, there is you can come up and get a postcard with the QR code. What we would appreciate, obviously, if we're going to roll this system out, is that it works before we roll it out, and we're going to use you as guinea pigs. I would appreciate if you would take one of these and kind of use the QR code to go into, make a reservation, pretend you're a bus company, make a reservation, just so we see that, number one, we'll get your email address so we can then get in touch with you when we have a community forum, for sure. And we'll make sure that you're one of the few who, you've reserved your spot at the community forum. But it will also let us know that you've got the email back. Again, show up on time, or you're gonna be standing outside. It'll give you feedback that you got something back from us. It'll give us feedback who's there. So I would just appreciate if you would all take that before you leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was good.
Okay.
That
Yep,
was very
thank
good.
you.
That was,
Very
thank
good.
you for
Thank
the
you.
update. It
I'm
was very
staying.
helpful.
Are you staying?
For the next item.
Oh, okay.
Ah, perfect.
That's the big pay.
For the pedestrian transportation?
The
Perfect.
next
Wait, I
one
can
is
go
the
here.
parking.
I can
Oh,
go to my-
what fun.
I'm not staying for
We
that one.
haven't done the parking yet.
I can go to my handy dandy,
Yep.
You got the big,
oh, wait.
So, item number 11.
Yep.
That Unita's with us again. This is the parking and permitting solution. This is a new solution we're proposing for the Dock Square parking lot and for the Goose Rocks Beach parking.
That's right. So, again, this item deals with proposed solution for two separate municipal parking, one lot and one location, that the town has to manage. And I kind of separated those two in memo, because of they're different in the way we manage them. So I'm gonna start with the Dock Square parking lot, municipal parking lot. So currently, Dock Square parking lot has Amana system. That Amana system was purchased about 10 years ago from the company called Cincinnati Time. We still work with them. They're a great company, always responsive. But the lifespan of that system is 7 years. So last year, Dave Powell really started feeling that system is getting old. He was called a lot. There was a lot of jams. I think our police department was on call a lot as well, especially at night. So we had to navigate through those challenges. So we started looking into what we can do better. And while we were looking for what we can do better, we had one thing that we kept hitting with all the companies. The 5 hours allotted time, 5 hours of free parking for residents. I believe last year or 2 years ago, the board made it clear that that is non-negotiable, and the board would like to keep that. So we took that very seriously, and we talked to many companies. There was T2 company from, I believe, Texas. We talked to Cincinnati Time again. We talked to Flowbird. There was multiple other companies that we researched. And here's what we came up with, and here's what the proposal is. So for Dock Square parking lot, we are proposing to go with Flowbird company. So here are the few reasons of why we want to go with Flowbird. First of all, we have Flowbird currently at Goose Rocks Beach. We did not have issues with the Flowbird machines. There wasn't any jams or mechanical issues. Second of all, we thought it would make a lot of sense if we kept kind of one system together. Thirdly, we know that our neighboring community, Kennebunk, also uses Flowbird, which is not, it doesn't mean we have to, whatever Kennebunk does, we have to do. It simply means that it would make it a lot easier for our residents who know the system, go there, and vice versa. And thirdly, they're the only company that could solve the issue of 5 hours. So basically, you will see the proposal. The total initial investment of that proposal is $56,846, which is a lot, but if we, for your perspective, when we talked to T2, it was over 100,000. When we talked to Cincinnati Time, it was about 60,000, etc. So it is in line, the price tag is in line with all of the nearby, with all of those companies. So the Flowbird machines quoted us for the entry device. They've quoted us for the exit device and for the pay-on-foot machine right there at the Dock Square parking lot. The best part about this is that currently the residents need to request 5 chaser tickets. I don't know if any of you board members requested those.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Don't use them.
Good job.
You
I
bet.
sell mine.
So if you requested them, then you know the process. You go to the town clerk's department, you receive this strip of 5 tickets, and you hope not to lose them, and it's great. So what Flowbird says they can do, they can attach the 5 hours of free parking to your license plate. So what will happen is you go to Dock Square parking lot, you press the button, you get a ticket, you enter, then you go to the machine, and you validate the ticket with your park license plate. What that means is you don't need to deal with chaser tickets anymore. Town clerk doesn't have to deal with chaser tickets anymore. The only piece will be to upload the parking plate, which will be on the back end from town clerk's department, but it's a very different process than what it used to be. So for non-residents, okay, let's talk about non-residents. The machines that Flowbird offer have two options. One, you go in, you swipe or insert your card. You go in, you park, and on the way out, you slide the same card. That's how you charged, okay? So it's credit card. I think a lot of Portland parking lots have this system. Another option would be you go to the Flowbird machine, you put in your, you get your ticket, you put your license plate, and then you pay at the Flowbird machine. We will not have cash option anymore. Believe it or not, cash machines cost way more these days than just credit card machines. The industry standard is to go away from cash.
But our cash has gone way down at the.
We receive very minimally,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think less than 5% of the transactions
Yeah,
are
so
cash
it's
now.
not-
So we didn't think it was feasible to spend more for that purpose. So from the perspective, from operational perspective, this would make a lot of sense. So that's the Flowbird. And you see the quote there. I put quotes in your packets. Do you have questions about Dock Square?
So just again, if I'm a resident and I have my chaser tickets, my 5 hours, I go in and when I go to exit, I just have to put my license plate number in the machine. I don't put a credit card in, I just put my license plate number in.
Yes,
As long
so.
as you have credit, yeah.
If you have credit, correct. If you don't, you will have to also, like, let's say you stayed more than 5 hours, you will have to,
It'll say
Pay
insert
the
credit.
you
card.
owe us money at this, so use your credit card.
Yeah.
Yes. It will be attached to household, so just like currently we have, it's attached to household. So you will be able to put up to two license plates. And if you and your husband will decide to go at the same time and park at the same time at Dock Square parking lot, it will simultaneously run against your 5 allotted hours.
So, but again, this is something that the resident will do ahead of time. So they will get on the portal and they will enter their license plate. That'll be submitted. You will verify it on the back end. And if you have no questions, you'll load it into the database and they'll be ready to go.
That's correct. There is a little caveat, but not to confuse anyone. Yes, I'll talk about this caveat when I will be talking about Goose Rocks Beach, but yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
So if I'm Joe Q Public and I come up to the Flowbird machine, I'm gonna have an option to either put in my credit card or collect a ticket.
Yeah,
If
or
I-
use license plate, I believe as well.
But do I have to then type in my license plate?
Yes, because license plate need to be typed for the purpose of enforcement, but we don't have to.
But we're not
That's-
gonna enforce it in that way.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a
it's-
gated system.
It's gonna be a gated
So the
system.
system has a lot more flexibility, but because we have gates, and I think the other concern we have is we don't want to back up at the entry
Well, that's
or
my
back up at
concern,
the
is it
exit.
will back
So we
up.
would tell people to just take a ticket. I mean, that would be our standard. Understand that you can use your credit card in and credit card out, but our standard would be that
Take a
people would take
ticket.
a
And if they
ticket.
take the ticket, then they just pay like they do now. They go
Yes.
to the pay by foot, put it in, put the credit card,
Yep.
get it
Yep.
back and go.
We just
Perfect,
can't
So-
use cash.
perfect. That's the only change.
No,
Perfect.
it's more of a logistics, so you're gonna have a gate, you take the ticket to have the gate go up.
That's correct, to enter.
You float around the parking lot, because we don't have anything that tells you the lot is full.
Well, sometimes you do,
So-
but you might, and if it is, you
For
get a
that-
grace period.
So
You get
there
a
are
grace.
few options there. But current option, we currently have 15 minutes of
Yeah.
allotted time.
Right.
So if there is no spot, you just go. Another option that is currently not necessarily feasible because of our ordinance, Flowbird does have an option to give us little sign that says lot full, and it's attached to the machine. So they know we have 87 spots there, and they know if there's 87 spots are taken, then, well, lot is full. It's currently not feasible because of ordinance, but it's always an option.
Yeah, plus it would,
What ordinance?
It's because it's a electronic neon sign.
Yes.
But if it's back
It's an
on,
illuminated sign.
oh, come on.
It's backlit, John.
It's a backlit sign again, huh? We gotta get a little
But
variance to it.
currently, we do have a grace period when you enter,
I think 15-minute grace period.
That's the way.
and we
what you
would
do.
maintain a grace
Okay.
period.
And most people expect that.
Yep,
That's,
and it's
that's
very,
just-
it's very doable.
That's fine.
in that way.
But I guess my question is, okay, they pull in, they don't find a parking spot, they don't want to wait the 15, they're just going to pull back out. Do they put the they have to
Yes,
put
they
a
have to
ticket
put the
in?
ticket
So
in.
is the exit machine,
Yeah,
everyone's
that's
going to
how
have to use the ticket to get out?
That's how it works,
It's
yeah.
all tied
That's
in.
how it works
Yeah.
now.
We also, it was important for us, one, to maintain gated systems. So Chief Simeone was included in all of this conversation, and he made the point that it is important for his department because we do not want to lose revenue. But also, we did include intercom communication. So currently, if something is jammed, credit card doesn't work, person forgot
gate
what
doesn't go
credit
up.
card they used, they can use intercom. Currently it will go to one of our staff members. We can always also outsource it to another company if at any point in time the board will want to do that. Not saying we have to, but it's always an option. So this really does give a lot of flexibility and options for us.
Good.
Who's gonna, talk to the back to the intercom? Is it
The
town
dispatch
hall?
currently does now.
Dispatcher?
Dispatch does now.
Yeah.
It's select
But
board
if we
member every
determine
night.
that that's not feasible, we can outsource it.
Yeah, forgetting too many.
Do you
Okay.
have anything else?
Well, I have
Goose
Goose
Rocks
Rocks
Beach.
Beach.
Oh, I was just gonna, so is this system where else, you said it's used in Kennebunk, and is it used, any other communities around here, is this what they use in Agunquit, do you know?
So Flowbird machines are used in Old Orchard. Actually, Chief Simeone and I did go to Old Orchard, and we talked to their parking person and to their police department, and they love the machines and they love this. I talked to Nicole. She actually goes to her dentist, I believe, near Berwick. They also use Flowbird machines to park in the municipal. So those are very popular machines. They're not unique.
Okay, I think that's good.
Good. So, and then let's talk about Goose Rocks Beach. So another place that we pinpointed that needed some update and modernization was Goose Rocks Beach. And the reason for that is because, again, we have manual process currently for residents, non-residents, and it can get a little busy, and it also can create a lot of confusion. So as you know, residents have stickers, and this past summer, some stickers, I guess, were stolen and people lose them. There was just a lot of concern there. So when we looked at Goose Rocks Beach, what we propose to do is to go Flowbird plus Passport. So we currently have Flowbird machines at the beach right now. So we don't need to do anything with Flowbird machines. We currently have them. They operate. They're great. The only piece we will have to do with them, and Flowbird confirmed they can do it for free for us, is to reintegrate them to take license plates. So currently you go and you get a ticket, like you pay for a day and you get a ticket, you put it on your dashboard, and I don't know how many times people would just lose them. That's like a daily occurrence, like they lose in their dashboard. But what we ask them to do is when you go to this machine, you put in your license plate, and then you're free to go. So when the officer will be walking by, the officer has a phone or app, a device, and they start typing. So let's say your plate is 1, 2, 3, they put 1, and all of the plates with 1 pop up. Then they put 2, and less plates pop up, etc. That's how they know that this car is paid for, okay? So through the Flowbird machines, you can purchase weekly, you can purchase daily or weekly pass. Why Passport? So another piece we want to add is Passport. Passport is software. Flowbird is hardware. Passport is software. You've seen it probably in Portland or other communities. It's a very popular application, popular system. Basically, we will put the QR code that says scan me and you can pay per day. So you scan the QR code, you go on the site, you plug in your plate again, and you can choose the day, you can pay for the day, and you're good to go. Both systems will communicate through the server. So either you pay through Flowbird or through Passport, they will communicate. Why we also add in Passport, it's not just for this payment, we also need permitting portal from Passport. Flowbird does not do permitting portals. So what is permitting portal? As a resident of Kennebunkport, you will have to go to the permitting portal, you register, the same application as we have currently that we send out with our taxes, I believe. You fill in your name, where your property is located, and then you have to upload a photo or two of requirements to showcase that you do live in Kennebunkport and you do pay taxes here. You don't have to live here, you have to pay taxes here. So once you upload that, pay your $10, it goes to town clerk, they verify. They currently do the same process, just manually. They verify, and you're good to go. So you purchase the seasonal pass. So
On your account, you will register your 2 vehicles.
correct, there's going to be 2 vehicles, just like we have right now, that you can add to your household account. So John, the caveat that I was talking about, we will not make residents to go for Flowbird, for Dog Square. We will do it on our own. We'll just download all the data from Passport and upload to Flowbird. So people will not have to do it for Flowbird.
But they will have had to have done it
Correct.
for
And here
construction.
is the reason why we decided to go this way, is because way more people purchase seasonal stickers than purchase chaser tickets.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So a lot of people will be covered by
No,
this
that's perfect.
automatically
That
through
is
our
perfect.
department. So the total initial investment for the passport system is $15,000. So
One more question just on the mechanics before we get to the cost. So
Yeah.
we will then have the residents' license plates
Mm-hmm.
in the system because they have done it to get their pass. So as you know, we're proposing, and I hope that we will be able to establish residents-only positions, parking spots at Goose Rocks.
yes.
So then anyone who is parked there, when the CSO starts to enter the license, it will tell them, yeah, that person's in the system and they are, yes, they're a resident, or no, they're not a resident. They were a daily person who has come into a resident area and then can be ticketed accordingly.
So I did talk to Old Orchard, and that's exactly how it does it.
Perfect.
They also have they have so many more stickers, like residential, non-residential, motels, etc.
Yeah.
And it shows exactly which one it is, when it was purchased, and when it expired. There's a lot of
Perfect.
data you can get from that. So
Perfect.
yes.
Perfect.
Is the passport for 15,000, is that a one-time charge or is that a yearly charge?
So thank you for your question. So the passport implementation, so project implementation with passport costs $3,000. Then we have passport software licensing fee. This fee of $12,000, that's what we'll have to pay every year.
Every year?
Yes. So also, if you will look at passport quote, you will see that there is convenience fee per mobile payment session, and they propose $1 fee, and it's paid by Parker. But there are also fees the town has to pay, which is merchant processing fee. That is a normal fee. We pay this similar fee for credit card transactions, so it's 2.95% and plus 25 cents, and 5 cents for getaway fee. And then if residents will decide will do this residential permit on the passport permitting portal, they will have to pay extra $1.95, or for weekly and seasonal, it's $3.95.
So that's a lot of numbers. So I'm a resident and I can do it. If I do it through Passport, it costs me $10 plus $1 something or other.
95.
Or I can do it through I can't. So that's what it
That's
costs
it.
me.
Yes.
We're not offering Stripe through the town then?
No,
All
we
right.
can't.
So
We're
I-
making
All right.
agreements
So it
with
just
them.
went from,
Okay.
so all it is it made it where you don't have to go down to town to get your sticker. And you don't have to stick a sticker on your car.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just have to go online and for $1.95, I can,
You good
for
with that?
for $11.95, I can get my two free parking spots for 2 of my vehicles,
Correct.
yes.
And I did, so Kennebank, as I mentioned, they're also going passport plus flowbird system, but they're trying to implement it for 2027. They do have a similar proposal. So this is not because we're Kennebunkport proposal. It is a universal proposal for them as well.
And this money is coming out of the parking lot enterprise fund, right?
That is correct. For both Dog Square and for the Goose Trucks, it would come out from the enterprise fund.
So this makes it easier, does this make it easier for our CSOs then? Is that?
I think what makes it easier is that there's consistency, because what we run into now is people lose their stickers, people claim that stickers are stolen, people put stickers in different places. When we have the daily kiosk, it's a piece of paper versus a sticker on the window. So it's consistency. The license plate is the license plate, and I know it as I go up. You can ask Chief Simeone about it. We did talk to Chief about it quite a bit to see if this was gonna be less efficient than the current system.
So generally, yes, I think it is gonna be easier, at least this past summer, what we ran into a lot of the times. Or I should say the summer before were thefts of the stickers. So this past year, we tried placing them on the inside of the windows. It was mixed results. Sometimes you could see them, sometimes you couldn't. With the printed receipts, that you had down at the beach that people would put on their dashboard. Not thinking about it, right? You would get out of the car, close the door, and the wind generated by the door closing blew it off, blew it down in behind the dashboard. I can't tell you how many calls we got on that. So that just really wasn't very efficient. So, this isn't necessarily going to be any more work for the CSOs. And I think, as Lori said, it's just going to be more consistent. It's going to be easier to manage.
Good.
Perfect.
Well,
Like it.
Thank you.
What about the fight on the first day they were available to get the lowest sticker number?
Yeah.
What are we
You
gonna
can
do
get
about
in
David, we will
the
give-
first email of the
We
year.
will give you your own sticker.
And you won't have to get up at 3 a.m. to get in line.
And I just quickly want to mention about the CSOs. So we also considered the point of, there are options where you can read the plate. So it's called LPR cameras, and you can read the plate. We've been going in that direction for a long time, and then State of Maine passed a law that you cannot use LPR readers for commercial purposes. With that, maybe one day that law will go away, and then it will be easier, and everybody will go back, and we will be able to read the plates. So there are options, and I think this is,
Yeah, it's a platform that we can go with.
It's a
time.
if that happens,
Yeah.
yes, we can just go that
So
way.
I'll make the motion?
Please.
I shall make a motion to authorize the expenditure of $71,846.33
Second,
for the purchase of Flowbird, please wait for me to finish,
I thought you would.
and passport software and hardware.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Great.
Thank you. Yannick.
Thank you so much.
This will be
Yeah,
great.
really excellent.
This is good,
Good job.
very good.
Now, item 12, this is where we are appointing, actually 3 individuals. That's the good news, is that we have 2 residents and 1 commercial, representative of a commercial entity. So no one's going to speak to this, I can speak to this. So we are appointing Susan Colinet, I hope I have pronounced that correctly, Kelly Scott, and then we also have, they are our residents, and then from the Caring Community Cuisine.
Representing businesses.
Representing the business, we have Selena Roy. So 3 individuals, if I could have a motion to put them in position.
So moved.
Second,
I have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I would just say we're all grateful for the volunteers.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now we have another appointment, and Tom, thank you for waiting patiently through this long evening.
Do you want to come up to the mic?
Yeah.
are you sure, at listening to this conversation that happened, that you want to join this committee?
It was all good.
Yes, I remain.
Okay.
He's withdrawing.
So Tom has been, has offered to join the Growth Planning Committee. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom.
Sure. I'm a resident at 17 Main Street across from the library. I have a wife that some of you know, Sarah, and a couple of children who are becoming college age, so we're sort of empty nested.
Wow.
I have a technical background, but spent most of my career in the investment field. So spent a lot of time thinking about and advising businesses, their growth businesses, to execute mainly for economic shareholder gain.
Yeah.
That I think is quite applicable, but I have an interest and as well as capacity to serve in this, so that's why I raised my hand.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I did kid Tom earlier and told him we were gonna Bill Ricka him very bad. I did.
So do you?
I told you, just for, Bill Ricka is the town of Massachusetts that I watched one of their board meetings, and when they were appointing people, they actually gave them case studies that they had to defend or tell what they would do in that case. So I told him we were gonna do that to him tonight, but I'm gonna let you, I think you saw how you handled the discussion earlier very well, so we'll pass.
So I just
So
like
I'm
to
gonna
say-
nominate you.
So I'd just like to say, in fairness, my husband's family, part of his family is from Billerica.
Right, so. I'm gonna nominate Tom Vanderschaff to the Growth Planning Committee.
I second.
I have a first, and until to the June 2027 term.
June
Yeah.
2020, yes, sorry.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome.
Next item,
It was a good meeting for him to attend.
yeah,
It was apropos.
the planning going. The next item is to address our short-term rental cap. You know that each year we set a percentage of the residences outside of Goose Rocks Beach as a determination for the number of short-term licenses. We currently have 236 from our previous 9 point, I'm sorry, Galen, hello.
Hello.
Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so every year we do set a cap. Normally we do that in the summer, just we got busy with things and we as a town haven't discussed what that cap is going to be. And so right now what it's looking like is with our dwelling units, they are always running a report. And it's as of April 1st is when the town assessor has the status of that. And so what we've noticed is there was actually a decline, a temporary decline, in the number of dwelling units in Kennebunkport. And it's because some of them have been demoed and they're being rebuilt, or their statuses aren't complete yet as occupancy. So they aren't counted in that cap. So we actually had a slight decline if we keep at the 9.5% multiplier outside of Goose Rocks Beach. So staff is recommending just for this year to keep it flatlined at the 237. We would need to go to a multiplier percentage of 9.53%.
So you were suggesting 237?
Yes, we had 237 last year and we'll have 237 this year if you all agree that's the cap.
You know, I don't know,
Stay.
0.3%.
Go with it.
What if we go 9.6
Just go.
and just get 239?
No.
Now,
All righty.
I'd like to make a
You guys can do
motion.
whatever you want.
So pretty soon we'll have 9.533213%,
When we get-
but that's fair.
I tell you this, John, when we get to the same amount of numbers as in pi, we
Yeah.
will.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I will wait. It'll be a long
round
wait.
up.
It'll be a long wait. All righty, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve 237 number of short-term rental license for 2026.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Gil.
Thank you.
All righty. Next is to discuss speed bumps on New Bedford Road. Yes, go ahead.
John is gonna take this,
All right.
Yeah.
but you're here for support.
Yeah. The Beach Advisory Committee has sent forward a request that the board reconsider to allow speed bumps to be put back in this year, along with the two speed notification, or 4 speed notification cameras. So that is the request that is coming from the BAC.
So,
You don't mean cameras, you mean the
I said cameras, notification
Thank you.
signs,
yeah,
which are not backlit.
The backlit.
Backlit signs, that's what.
I'm okay with the notification signs, but I understand that if we keep the bumpers, we're gonna have to go ahead and buy new ones, and I'm not in favor of that. So I would like to see them gone.
So I would say that when we were thinking through this, and so I'm, you know, I think the board takes consideration in terms of what the Beach Advisory Committee did, but we're looking at it from a town perspective. And from my perspective, I try to look at this as what is different about New Bedford Road than the rest of our town. So our policy right now in our town for handling speed is to have the speed signs, which in essence are smart, right? Because they're giving people driving down the road awareness of, right in their face, of how fast they're going, and flashing red that you should slow down, or flashing green that you're doing a good job. And I aim for the green, just so you know. And so I think that's our policy within the town, and so I could not come up, nor has anyone given me a reason of why New Bedford Road would be different. And New Bedford Road, the speed bumps went in before we had this policy and we started putting these speed signs around. And if we go into our other neighboring towns, they also have the speed signs, and none of our, you know, we just don't have the speed bumps. And if you would say, okay, well, why don't you just do both? Well, the speed bumps actually have detrimental effects, right? So we know that they do cause road damage, and there's also bad side effects if you look at people going over speed bumps. Either they don't slow down and launch their vehicles over them, or us bike riders that go down New Bedford Road and are actually in the bike lane, the cars pull into that lane with 2 of their tires so they don't have to take all 4 tires over the speed bump. Or they get so mad that they had to go over 2 speed bumps that they speed up after. So the speed bumps to me are sort of a, quote, dumb solution, and they really only handle speed at the point of when a car is going over the bump. So I don't feel that the speed bump is a panacea. I understand people don't want this change, but I do believe that our speed signs are effective. I think that's been proven, and I would like to go that way.
Well, you know my feelings.
Any other discussion?
Eric, do you have anything you'd like to add to it, or chief, would the chief like to add anything to it?
I would just agree with I would agree with the current position of the board right now. I've never viewed them as being very effective. They're effective in that single location, as Mary Beth had mentioned. But then there's a tendency to speed up. I mean, that's pretty well documented.
Well,
And the road is also, we had to move them because it did damage the road at one location. We had to move them to another location.
I mean, to Mary Beth's point, yeah, I mean, Dyke Road has got the same issue without speed bumps. I live on Beechwood Avenue, probably even same issue without speed bumps. There's plenty of other roads and, I mean, there's plenty of other roads in town that have the same issue. Speed is a problem. I don't understand. If we'd have to purchase new ones and we're gonna put signs, notification signs down there, why we would do both. So I would say leave the speed bumps off the road.
There's one more point too that I think we've, these signs do have data collection. So, you know, when I mentioned that the speed bumps are a dumb solution, right? The signs actually give us feedback. So for example, if we're looking at the data of when there's speed on roads, our law enforcement can make educated decisions on when they might put a cruiser there you know, to sort of mitigate some of those issues. So I do think it's, you know, that's another benefit of having the sign.
And the other thing is, in many urban places, they do 3D speed bumps that are just simply, they appear to be speed bumps in the road that are just painted into the road, but from a driver's perspective, they look like they're them. So, I mean, that could also be looked into, is if the data, you could try one year painting something that it looks like a speed bump, but isn't actually a
I
speed
don't
bump.
know if you want Chief Simeone to comment
Yeah,
on how they use the speed signs or any thoughts.
yeah, that would be great.
You know, so as we've already acknowledged, right, we are able to collect data with those. We are able to run reports in various configurations to, one of which is find out, you know, when we're experiencing that problem, you know, at what time of day. So it is useful for those targeting purposes. We don't currently have any good data right now on New Bedford Road because we've never configured those signs, nor do we have a post right down there now that we've been able to set that up on. So we don't really have any, you know, base data to compare anything to right now. So when we get these up this year, we can start that process.
Do we collect license plate signs on?
No,
No,
no cameras.
no.
No.
I think the state of Maine was looking at doing that at some point,
They did a
right?
trial
A
for a
trial?
while as a beta test, and they didn't go forward.
Okay.
It's a shame. Joe, you have any one way
I
in
don't have
on your
anything to add.
Yeah, this one, I just want to acknowledge, this is a tough issue for me. I heard many passionate comments during the Beach Advisory Committee to ask us to please keep those speed bumps back. How can anyone really vote against safety? I mean, safety is obviously a concern. But I am swayed by the argument that this is something that is a fairness across all town, and how we have chosen the protocol we have is to use the electronic signs to understand what the patterns are and then focus our enforcement. So given that, I too would support not putting the speed bumps back in, and maintain not have to. We can vote again, and I guess we should probably do that as it was asked to come in. So I will entertain a motion for this Article 15.
I'll make a motion to approve the removal of speed bumps on the New Bedford Road.
Second?
I have a first and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Just make one comment that the board did receive notes or emails or comments from people that live in the area in favor of removal too. So we did hear from.
Right, and we also received many asking to keep them in.
Right.
So, but you're right, they were both came, both
Okay.
came. So,
Ready to vote?
yes, we did,
You
but.
made the comment after you,
Yeah, but
you
you
can do it
told me
again if you
what-
want.
I just want to make sure that my hand didn't go up.
Yes.
Okay, item 16, authorization of the 2026 waste hauling permits. Can I read this one?
You absolutely can.
All right, so each year, the Select Board authorizes those companies that are allowed to remove waste within our town limits. This year's applications are from Casella Waste, Waste Management, Zachary Noble, and Win Waste. All of them have submitted their documentation, they've paid their fees, and the staff recommends approval.
So moved.
Second?
First and second, all in favor? Then item 17 is to accept a $1,000 donation from the Atlantic Firemen's Education Association to the Emergency Fuel Fund. Gratefully.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the donation with much gratitude.
Second.
All in favor? Item 18, accept donation for the Allison Kenneway Memorial Scholarship Fund.
So I will make a motion to accept the donations to the Allison Kenneway Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Second?
All in
With
favor?
gratitude, thank you.
Thank you. And other business. Joe?
None here. None here, sir.
I would just like to share, I want to thank the board, thank the Growth Planning Committee members and the Planning Board members who attended the Land and Woods Affordable Housing Development on Beechwood. We had a great tour. I think folks were very impressed with how the buildings are looking. As the people who were there knew, and I'll let the folks know that we had 6 units. We are oversubscribed. We have 11. 2 of the units were, names were drawn today for the ones that we were in, both units that we were in.
Good.
One is the further subsidized unit. I'm happy to tell you that that person was so excited that they were chosen that they have already toured it, and she cried when she saw it. So I just want folks to know that they are on.
Marvelous.
Yep, and the other person who was informed and was very excited and will be looking at it tomorrow.
Marvelous.
That's great, that's great.
So thank you, everyone who came.
I have nothing.
I just want to thank David and the Housing Trust and the other committees that attended. And then also, Larissa brought up the thing about the ADUs, and I think when we get closer, that would be really good to communicate to the.
That is, well, Galen's here. Galen, that is this, next weekend, not this weekend, it's the following weekend.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
Is that going to be on our town website, or could it be? Okay.
Maybe you want to just tell people
To
what
right
it is
quick,
Mary
sorry.
Beth's talking about.
Yeah.
So the Neighborhood Housing Trust is doing a open house workshop for folks between Kennebunkport and Arundel, I believe. And so there will be representatives from the construction industry, from Anderson Windows, and then also code officers from each town.
And the bank can.
Oh, the banking community, yes, the financing community. And so basically it's open to residents that are curious about accessory dwelling units and what it's all about. And so they can come there and gain all the knowledge they need to see if they can put one on their property. And the time for
It's
that,
9 to noon.
it's the what?
9 to noon,
9 to noon, yeah,
on January 31st.
yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, and as Larissa said, you guys will pull up, people will say where they live, and, you'll be able to talk to their property live, and so I think it would be a really good information. I think it's excellent, good information somewhere. Thank you.
Great,
Thanks for
thank you.
doing that.
And a piece I have is last, I guess it was early summer, Lori and I coordinated with the engineering firm GEI to put a $30,000 proposal into DEP to do a study of what an engineered dune might look like on the east arc of Goose Rocks Beach. So that was awarded.
So maybe you should tell them why we care about an engineered dune.
Here, can I have your pen?
Yes, so so I am
That's
a
an
fidgeter,
inside
and,
board joke, folks. That's an inside board.
And if it's, but the engineer doing, the importance of being engineered is that it puts it in a different category with FEMA. So you might remember we restored Goose Rocks Dunes a year ago under a Category B funding, which is an emergency funding. It makes it resilient to a 5-year storm level. If you do an engineered dune, which puts it into a 100-year storm level, you now become what FEMA refers to as a structure, a natural structure. But as a structure, you are able to get significantly more money from FEMA in order to help restore the dune when and if it is damaged. So it puts us, if we decided to do this, and there's real money in doing it, this study is just to say, what would it look like? And how much would it probably cost, the bread box, a rough order of magnitude on what it would cost to build a dune.
Could you just give us like 2 sentences of how do we perceive an engineered dune? What could I envision?
I think the essence is that it has a solid core covered with sand for the most part. So as opposed to a solid wall of granite, which you have as on each side of that central part of the East Arc, rather than just being sand dunes that could be totally washed away, it would have a core of some sort that was much more solid, and there are many different ways we could do it, and then that is covered with sand. So the sand adds as the major buffer, but if it gets through that sand, it has a more resilient barrier to, before it would start eroding the road and, God forbid, the homes beyond it.
So would that be like cement or something like that?
You know, they're different, you can use coconut logs, you can use I mean, there's a whole, and that's what this study will be about.
Yeah.
You know, what makes sense, what are the options, and most importantly, what it would look like, because my concern is it would probably be pretty big. And it might have a real aesthetic balance, but we'll have to see. So
Yeah.
this is kind of the fun of
Well, I
it.
think it's good to know what the options are.
Exactly.
So when will they?
And then, in addition to that, UNE has invited us to participate in a program. They have a $200,000 grant that they're flying LiDAR, which is a mapping tool that you can make digital 3D models with. They're flying all the beaches in Maine, but on our beach, they're going to use a bathymetric LiDAR, which actually penetrates the water. And so we'll be able to build a model of the whole east arc of Kennebunkport, and then most probably through digital modeling, look at what different storms would do in terms of the intensity of erosion. And that way we play that into the engineered dune as well. I mean, how much protection do we really get, et cetera, et cetera. So both of these projects are ready to kick off. I'd like to propose that under our sustainability strategy, that the Climate Resiliency Committee take these on as points of interest and coordination.
I think that sounds great.
Do you need a motion?
No, I think just
Just
to
a
ask
nod
if there are
of
any concerns. If there are no concerns with that, then
I think it's great.
thank you, we're ready to roll.
Congratulations,
I
John.
think the only thing I would request about for the, what did you call it, the LiDAR?
LiDAR.
LiDAR, is that if we could see if Contender is in our waters.
I don't know who
Contender
Contender,
is,
oh, Contender's the boom, 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 boom,
Contender
boom, boom.
is the
Yep.
14.7 great white.
Yep,
that
Jaws.
swims- That swims past our coast.
We
So
will,
if
we will
could
look
get a
for, we
picture
will
of
look
him,
for him, we
I
will
would
look
love
for
it.
him. Gloria,
I have nothing.
then it's time. Oh, no, gotta pass the warrant. Oh, even better. Yeah, how quick my memory goes, dear. It
Here's
just-
your pen back, it doesn't work without
Thank
it.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
I
you.
didn't even know they were connected so much.
We have been
Reminiscent.
no, not
Reminiscing.
reminiscent, we've not been good at following the
Well, not-
proper orders of things. What we forgot, remiss is the word I was
Remiss.
looking for. God, 75, wouldn't you think, could you think it was 85?
Just click that pen.
All right, so we forgot to do what is so appropriate at the end of the year, is to acknowledge the phenomenal job that our town manager does for us and provide her a well-deserved bonus.
Thank you.
So what I would propose, and I'd hope you would approve, is that we retroactively, although we can't do it, it has to be in this tax year, provide Lori $10,000 bonus in recognition of the many hours way beyond the call of duty. And I can attest to how important she is to my role here in the board, as well to all of us.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any discussion?
No,
I think
All in
it's
favor?
well-deserved.
Yeah.
well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Now we can pass the warrant.
So moved.
Second,
First and second, all in favor?
David?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Don't forget to come and get your QR code, folks.